Makita's second generation 40V XGT reciprocating saw. Does it really stand out from the first gen? We'll find out. It seems like it's only been a few months since we talked about the release of the 40V XGT lineup, even though it has been a little longer than that. But Makita's already taken their first gen reciprocating saw, gone back with some of the notes that they've heard from the field, and made their second gen, which is their GRJ02, and it's this saw right here. Now, it's supposed to do a lot more damage. That's probably a bad way to put it, but it's supposed to output a lot more work with less feedback to your actual hands than in the first generation. So we're actually going to see, does the performance step up, and are the ergonomics really that much better? So let's get started. If you're looking for maximum destruction, then this is the reciprocating saw you need to be looking at. This is the Makita GRJ02, and it's part of their XGT lineup. So the XGT means it runs on their 40V batteries, as well as all of these tools are going to be brushless motors and large brushless motors, again, running off those 40V batteries. You get a 1 1/4 inch stroke on this. We'll show you in the demonstration here in a few moments, as well as 3,000 strokes per minute, or SPM. There's a few really cool and usable features on this saw. Number one, the AVT on this stands for anti-vibration technology. So you see this large hump in here. And by the way, this is second generation XGT in the reciprocating saw. So the XGT lineup hasn't been out very long, period, and they've already got their second generation because they've added a few things. One of these things is adding additional AVT or anti-vibration technology, and you kind of see this hump in here. That's where a lot of that is happening, because when you get a 1 1/4 inch stroke, so in other words, you've got a shaft that's going out with the force, and at 3,000 times per minute going back and forth, you get a lot of shake in that. And then you get all these teeth grabbing wood and metal, and it really wants to shake that saw, which your old school, reciprocating saws, that's what it would do. It kind of shake you to death. Well, when you incorporate anti-vibration technology into here, basically you have some forces that are going opposite of those forces as it's going out and so forth and in, and taking a lot of that shock away that you're actually feeling in your hand. So even though the tool's still doing the same amount of work or even more work, less of that is being put through to your actual appendages and to your hands and arms. So anytime we can eliminate that vibration, eliminate a lot of that force that's being sent through your appendages, then we definitely want to do that. So we like that AVT being built in there right now. Now the shoe here on the front, we have a pivoting shoe. So you see here on the front, as well as we have a lever right here, and we can pull this lever down. Very easy to do. Just pull the lever down, and then we can slide this out. And there's several different places that we can stop and adjust this where we need it. So we can lock that in there. We can put it in a little more and lock that in there. And still get the pivoting part, but we can slide that out as we need it and then lock it down. As well as there's a cool feature under here, kind of hidden, and there's a little arrow right there. So if I open this up and I push this button, I can slide the shoe all the way out. So if you need to remove the shoe for some reason, you could definitely do that as well, and then lock that back down. Or if we need to put it back in, we do have to push the button to slide it back in, and once it's in, now it's going to slide and just lock into those places where you need it. So now it's back in, and it's going to lock right there. It's not going to come out any further. Then we can lock it down. As well as you see this other lever here, and that's to actually put the blade in, or to remove the blade. Actually, that's to eject the blade, because right now there's no blade in there. Obviously, I don't have to turn anything. I don't have to push anything. I can take this blade here. I can stick it in the saw, and if you push it hard, you'll hear it click, and now it's locked into place. So now I could use that to eject it, pull this up, and it ejects the blade. Now here's a little tip for you. So as you can see, now I've ejected it, push it in, it locks into place. But watch this. If I just push this lever up just far enough to eject it, there it just ejected. And then I release this. I go to put the blade in and it won't lock in. And that's because I need to raise this far enough to where you can hear it click. It had a little click. And now it will accept it. So again, make sure that you're not just raising it up enough to eject the blade, but make sure you're lifting it all the way up enough to click. And that's going to ensure that you're ready for that next blade to go in there. So I would say just every time, make sure you bottom that out, go all the way up to the top, eject that blade, and then you know it's ready to put that blade in again. You remove the shoe again, and you'll see right here we have a little double cob LED light. Let me throw a battery in here. And you see when I pull the trigger, now we've got a light that's shining there where we're making our cuts. Another feature that was added on the Gen 2 is the Orbital feature. So you can see here I'm in orbit mode, flip it over here, and all it's going to be doing is in and out with no orbit to it. So definitely when you're cutting wood, when you're wanting to just rip through the wood as fast as you can, put it in orbit mode. It's going to give that sawing action, that orbit action to the blade, and cut much faster. And then if you're cutting steel or wanting to make a finer cut in wood, then put it to just the stroke action where it's going in and out and keep it there. So very easy to make those changes as you need it. Now on the trigger, we do have a variable speed trigger. And as I mentioned earlier, it goes from 0 to 3,000 SPM or strokes per minute, as well as we can set the maximum here with the speed dial. So right here on this speed dial, we go all the way up to 5, which is 3,000, and then we can also tone that down, and that's going to set the maximum speed. So even though we have the variable speed trigger, at wide open, it's only going to go as fast as we have dialed in there. So 2 versus 5, so much faster. So this is where you're going to set your max, and then you can still throttle it, start real slow if you need to, and then ramp that up as you need it. And we also have a trigger lock here, so I can have it on, slide it over, and then lock that trigger to make sure that nothing's being pulled when we don't need it to. And then we have a large rafter hook back here on the back as well, where we can hang this wherever we need it, and then it tucks absolutely almost all the way out of the way where it's not going to get hung up on anything also. This is a heavy tool. By no means is this a light tool. This is, as I mentioned, this is what you're reaching for when you're wanting maximum destruction. So it is quite heavy, although all this is rubber overcoated or rubber overmolded. So very easy to handle this. So having your second hand here, very easy to hold. But again, it's not a light tool by any means. In fact, let's weigh it right now. So without the battery, 8 pounds, 10.5 ounces. And then we'll go ahead and throw the 5 amp hour battery on here. So a little over 11.5 pounds, 11 pounds, 9.5 ounces. So as I mentioned, not a light tool, but at the same time, this is that tool you're reaching for when you're wanting to do a lot of damage. Now let's go over and see how well this thing works. Okay, we've got a piece of 2x12 here in the vise. We're gonna turn this to the oscillating mode, and we're going to put in our blade here. And this is a 610 wood blade. Let's take the shoe out just a touch. There we go. And I'm just going to let the weight of the saw do the work here. I've got the speed set on the max of 5, and I'm just going to pull the trigger and let it eat. I'll tell you immediately, what's impressive is it's obviously cutting very fast. Again, I'm not putting any weight on it whatsoever, and I'm feeling very little vibration in the hand. And you can watch my hand here on the end. Again, very little vibration. So that AVT is working really well. Now I'm going to put a little pressure on it. Try that again. Very quick cut. So cutting wood, not a problem whatsoever. We're going to swap out this blade here. Put in a Makita bimetal blade. We're going to cut some 1/8 inch thick angle iron. Pretty typical cut. Going to turn it off of oscillating. Here we go. I don't think that blade likes that. Put in a different blade. Cut rather quickly then. So I think we ripped off a couple of teeth. Let's slow that down a little bit. Speed 2. So no problem cutting as far as the saw is concerned. Definitely need the right blade to make that cut. Now let's step it up a little bit. Now we've got some 1-inch rebar here in the vise. We've got a heavy metal blade on here. I've got it set on speed 2 still, so let's see how well it cuts now. That's a pretty thick piece of metal. And I'm going to slide my shoe out here, make sure that we're getting on a good piece of that blade. Let's try that again. Cutting right through it, no problem. Now, you may think that's a long time, but just so you understand, here's just a 1/2 inch piece of steel. Cuts through that like butter. So 1-inch rebar is some tough stuff. So cutting through that, no problem. Also, as I mentioned before, let me turn the speed up just a little bit more. Even though I'm cutting through steel and it's trying to grab at every, little tooth, you can see I'm getting very little vibration in my hand. So it's more so than in the wood, but still very little vibration going to the hand. No doubt about it, Makita's done a great job at both of those things of adding performance as well as reducing that vibration and that feedback to your hands and arms. The AVT technology does a great job at minimizing that, whether you're cutting wood or whether you're cutting metal. As well as the 40 volt, the brushless motor definitely has enough power to either damage blades or to rip through whatever material you're cutting through. And as we mentioned, in the orbital mode, cutting through wood very quick, even with zero feedback or adding any additional input to the saw, it cut through that 2x12 very quickly. Adding some more input, you can do so, and really it has all the power you want to lean on. It's supposed to have the power of a 15 amp corded version. We believe it. We didn't compare it to that, but we believe it. It's definitely generating plenty of power for you to put through whatever you want to as far as, putting feedback into the tool for that additional cut power. We love the adjustable shoe and the pivoting shoe, and the fact that you can even remove this very quickly as well. So not only can you slide that out, but push the button, slide that all the way out, and now you can remove the shoe altogether. Also, the quick release makes total sense for making those, for springing those blades out, as well as automatically just kind of shoving those in, and they're going to automatically lock. It's a great tool. $279 is a bare tool. It's not a cheap tool, but it is a big, heavy hitting, heavy cutting tool. So when you're stepping up to that max power, huge brushless motor, 40 volt technology, you're going to pay a little more. So $279, 3-year warranty. If you want the kit, you can get it in the kit format with a 4 amp hour battery and a charger, and that's going to step up to about $479, and again, get that 3-year warranty. So we'll have links in the description. Also, keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and even TikTok. And if you don't mind, would you hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already? And by all means, if you hated our video, then give us a thumbs down. But would you let us know in the comments why? Have a great day. Keep smiling.